you, Till. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being back here after some years and seeing how our paths have split but still intersect on so many occasions. So it's a joy to be here and talk to you. Yeah, so I worked here as a researcher for a couple of years, did my PhD at HCU, and now I will change to the private sector. And there was a bit of private sector bashing yesterday, so I hope I can give a little bit of a different perspective today. And I want to introduce to you our project, ENERsyte, which is a research project within our company. And I'm trying to go not into the technical details about the problem that we're trying to solve and how we are trying to solve it too much, because I think for most of you it's more interesting about like the insights maybe that I hope I can provide and how they can apply to other projects. But thank you very much to your colleagues in Stuttgart for giving a lot of context about the heat transition process, because this is what I'm going to talk about too. So for the organizational researchers, this is a third-party funded research project, which is funded by the European Sustainable Development Fund, which has a research goal, but also enabling commercial activities. So of course, it's a bit different than purely research projects. And we as a private partner are in the lead here. So this is also maybe different than many other projects. It gives us a couple of different possibilities, but also challenges, of course, right? We have colleagues in Münster, University of Applied Sciences, and RWTH Aachen, and I should probably have put the funding agency here too, lest they get angry. But yeah, let me start a bit with the motivation of this whole project, right? So excuse the German text on the slides, please. So last year we had like this record-breaking, more than half of the energy consumed in Germany was made with renewable energies, like a lot of solar gain we have had in the last few years, a lot of development. And this sounds like a great success, but the thing that we tend to overlook with this is like, this is always talking about electricity, or most often talking about electricity. And when you're looking at heating, the situation is very much different, right? So, and heating is like half of the energy consumption in total in Germany, right? So we have a bit of, or like a quarter of traffic, a quarter of power, and we have a lot of heat, which we need to make. This is probably more of a European problem, and in other countries it's a bit different. This both includes like room heating, like making this room warm, as well as process heat in industry, which is a bit of a different topic, but still it's like a huge issue. And if you look at how heat is generated in Germany, it's still very fossil. We have not made much progress in making this renewable, and that bit like that is renewable, most of it is by burning wood, which is like debatable how renewable this is. Maybe some of you remember the EU classification discussions 2 years ago or something. So there's a lot to do here, right? And so the German government decided to create 2 laws which frame this problem and like give very, very clear goals. So one is like the Gebäudeenergiegesetz, which is about what do homeowners have to do to make the heating carbon neutral. And complementary to that, we have the heat planning law, which tells the municipalities you have to provide a roadmap to how can we be carbon neutral until 2040. And this is a huge topic. This is so huge that the propaganda around these 2 laws is like part of the reason why our government collapsed a couple of months ago. So this is a huge, maybe there were some mistakes on various levels. I don't care about the politics about this. I want to provide and think in solutions. But the interesting thing is that we have a very well-defined problem here, right? So the heat transition in general is something which like other countries have as well, but this framing with the heat planning law is so precise that we rarely have it in these cases, right? The actual law text is so detailed in what is included in this heat planning that you have to make as a municipality that you would expect they already have a tool in their pocket which they want to deliver with it. They don't. They just like to put a lot of bullet points. So, but to give a bit of context how this works, so we have this heat plan, which basically means a municipality has to write a report, like a couple of pages of PDF in the end, you know, which has multiple things in it. So they start first with some stakeholder engagement, like who are the relevant people, like as you said, like grid operator and so on. Then there's a lot of looking at the status quo. So what is happening right now in terms of energy consumption or energy demand and energy production? Then it is about what are the potentials for generating heat that we're not using now? Like, can we put more solar? Can we have more biomass? Can we use waste heat? And then looking at what are actual targets that we want to reach and what are the steps very concretely that we might want to take to achieve our goals. And then this is where then the public gets involved. There's not really citizen participation involved here. So they're more or less faced with the result, which then informs the other law, and then they can change the environment. And after a couple of years, they have to do the whole thing again and see if they're on track, right? And the average time this takes is around 12 months for the whole process, and they have a very tight deadline, like the larger in 26, the other ones in 28. We've realized, or other people realized, there was like there's this interest group which like tries to give information to the municipalities. They have found like getting the data to do just the status quo analysis is one of the major hurdles for the municipalities, right? So this is not a problem for Hamburg. This is not a problem for Berlin or Frankfurt or wherever the municipalities have a very good planning department and a GIS department who are doing this work all the time, right? This is a problem for all of the other 1,000 municipalities, small villages somewhere in the rural areas, which don't have these capacities. And so they need a lot of time just doing this legwork, doing the groundwork of getting the data before they even get to the interesting and relevant parts, like doing the dialogue with the stakeholders and finding actual solutions to the local problems, right? And I think they should have more time for this and not spend it on data. So the question now becomes how can we help there with a digital twin? And I want to like underscore here. Like I wouldn't have called this a digital twin until before this presentation, I guess. And we don't have a digital twin shaped hammer that we're looking for nails with now. So we're looking at this problem, which was luckily more or less well defined, and we're trying to solve the problem first, and then discover what helps here is like having something that looks like a digital twin, right? So this kind of aligns with this cut and modular model of digital twins, right? So we have a lot of base data that goes into this from various public sources, some private sources, some sensitive sources too. And then we have some outputs which we then want to include in this plan. Like in the end, there's as I said, a list of bullet points of actual maps that have to be in the heat plan and tables that have to be in there. And then we have some models and some calculations and computation simulations that try to convert the one thing into the other, right? So, and so what we do in the project ourselves is we have a very unique position in, I mean, firstly, we have a lot of public data available in Germany, and you would think that like we have a lot of good open data, we have a lot of people very interested in standardization, but still it's a huge mess to combine all of this over all of Germany. So we're not working for one municipality. We aim to solve the solution once and for all municipalities. And the situation that we have as a company is we've done the legwork of combining all of these data sources across Germany already, right? So this is part of our business, and our business has a different products which like work on top of this data and do other things which are unrelated to heat planning. And so we've done this work already, and then we discovered, hey, we have this data in our database already. Can we solve heat planning with this, right? And so we identified like 3 contributions that we want to tackle. One is like doing like a planning support system, like an actual tool that the municipalities or the stakeholders can use to do the data analysis. So we're focusing on the status quo and potential analysis stages. We're not doing participation, stakeholder engagement, or the other things. We're trying to just do the itty-gritty work that every municipality has to do in more or less the same fashion and not the local considerations. Then we want to have an explainable and better heat model. Our current model we were not happy with, and we want something which is like very explainable. There's a lot of data that goes in there, and you need to create transparency there. And then we have a lot of other models like machine learning models, computer vision models, which are there for filling data gaps that we don't have in our geospatial and cadastral data and so on. Right, and then we're doing a lot of scientific evaluation. So we're like halfway in a 1.5-year project. So now we are kind of starting with the evaluation, or so most of the technical work is in due process, and now we're starting the evaluation. So I don't have like final results for this yet. Those are yet to come. So what is our goal that we want to reach with this, or what are the benefits we're providing? We can provide basically the work of data acquisition, analysis, and visualization. So like getting all of the required data for the municipality, doing most of the analyses, and then visualizing it in a nice enough way that they can print it in their report. And this already reduces the time for the municipalities or whoever does the heat plan for a lot. We have some first municipalities we're working with as partners who are very happy with the results as they are as of now. Like, no evaluation systematically yet, so no numbers here. And the interesting thing about this, we want to have this scalable, for all municipalities. They all have to do the same thing, but also reproducible, right? Because the way it happens now is the municipalities, they do a public tender, they get some third-party service provider to do this heat planning process for them, and you never really know what they're doing, right? And then you come back 3-4 years from now, and you do the same thing, and you want to see like how has the situation changed, have we reached our goals, and then you have another public tender and another service provider, and they do it differently. They use different source data, they use different models. Maybe they didn't really document how the models worked in the first place, and so you like, it's not comparable. Maybe it's not so important to be comparable from municipality to municipality on this level. Maybe it's interesting for higher levels, but for the municipality itself, it's very important to be comparable between different points in time, right? And since we have like one model which does this for everywhere with the same base data, we can run this as many times as we like. It's very fast. It works everywhere the same way. And so, yeah, it just becomes like a very consistent thing. Right. Still, we have a lot of challenges, of course. Like one of the major challenges is data that is either not available at all, or which like nobody wants to share with us because it's very sensitive. Like it affects like really people that live there, right? How much energy do they really consume? It's like oh no, it's like personal data or almost personal data. They don't want to share it. There are some things where data is available, but we just can't get it. You know, one major thing is energy certificates, like knowing what is the actual, how much energy does a building need, like how well is it insulated and so on. And like every house in Germany has an energy certificate. You need to have one. They go to an agency in Berlin, get collected, and then they vanish. I've seen not a single data set that uses these. I don't know where they go. Another very important thing is furnace types, like what kind of heating do you use? Do you use gas? Do you use oil? Do you use electrical heating? It's of course important to calculate the CO2 emissions. We don't have a centralized data set for this. Every house with a furnace gets a chimney sweeper. The chimney sweepers know in their area what furnaces are there. They don't want to share. Maybe we get it aggregated sometimes, but our models don't work with aggregated data in the same way. So there are some issues, right? But those things were expected, right? And so what we do to solve this by design is like we give it back to the user, right? We provide this tool and say, hey, we don't have all of the data. Whatever gaps are missing, you upload your data. The models still work. So luckily, our partner municipalities were fine in some cases to give us some data sets under very strict non-disclosure and like don't copy and so on. So we could still evaluate the models, and so we just give this tool back to the municipalities. The data that you upload in the tool never reaches our service. It's all transient. And but one thing that we could not solve this way is information about the building state. Like, has it been refurbished? Have there been retrofitted heat pumps? Have there been windows being replaced and so on? And so this is something which we then decided like we need to put a lot more work in this. It's unfortunate that we don't have better data. It's a very important issue. It really influences the heat demands a lot. And so this is what we're trying to solve on the image analysis side now. And yeah, and the next thing is, of course, there's always local specifics about considerations about like things we can't capture with our tool. And so we decided like, okay, we give it back to the user again. You use our tool. you get the output, you download it as like normal geospatial data formats, and then you can put it into your other process that you would have done otherwise and work with it. We can't catch every case. Yeah, and then again, the limitation of like these tenders that the municipalities tend to do is like they provide black boxes, like every service provider does it differently. They don't document very well. Even the heat plans don't document their methodology in the end, because the law says make the heat plan, not document how you did it. So this is a bit of the, what was it, the symbolic compliance we heard of in the keynote yesterday. Right, so we have some problems there. And there's some future work which we still want to work on. So one thing is, of course, getting all the image data that we can. This is like aerial images, but it's the same way street level images. So we're very interested in getting my hands on this BMW data too, not for the street, but just to see what facades are you parked in front of, and try to get as much information out of there, which is like more semantic than we have in the cadastral data. Like, how old is this roof? How many windows? Can we maybe tell if this facade has been renovated? Now, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be everywhere, but it's better than anything anybody has right now. And the next thing is evaluate our heat demand models better. This is a bit of an issue. Like, I don't want to go into the specifics, but everybody calculates heat demands, and it's a very different thing than consumption. Thank you. It's not great, but yeah, this is part of the job. And then, of course, we want to have a more systematic evaluation with the municipalities and like find out, does this actually help you the way we have a feeling for now, but like put some interviews, make some numbers, get some more partner municipalities to look at and make the tool better, right? So some key takeaways. The thing is, what we discovered time and time again, there is a lot of data that is available, and there are a lot of models already available. For example, the state of North Rhine-Westphalia makes a lot of calculations already, like heat demand models, and does it for the whole state and provides them for free on their website. But the municipalities in the same state, they don't even know that this would be available. They could just download and use this as a starting point, right? And other states don't. Other states do it in a very simple format, which I think might not be precise enough. The next thing is, like, we tell this in all of these talks, like break the silos, break the silos. But what does this actually mean, you know? And it means, for one thing, also like, okay, like breaking the silos means putting it all in one bigger silo, right? So this is what we're doing as a company, is we try to aggregate over all of Germany to have like a unified system and not like do it the same thing, like pilot after pilot in many different places, but try to have a solution that scales from the start. And yeah, some data I don't understand why they are not public, like energy certificates. It's so important, like you can remove the names for all I care. Addresses I would still like, but it's such an important topic for us, becoming like carbon neutral in housing. Like, how can it not be public information what the renovation state is of these houses? I'm always a sucker for privacy, yes, but at some cases I don't get it. And one thing that I do observe, like, I don't want to step on anybody's toes here, like the public sector, I think, can't do this alone, right? Be it the municipalities, be it the research projects, not because they don't have the skills, right? They're doing great stuff. Like in North Rhine-Westphalia, they provide a lot of great data. There's a lot of great research projects doing better models than ours, right? I'm not saying we're the best, but there's always like a governance issue at some point. There's a border, and they say, like, we stop here, we only do it for this state. The federal system makes this horrible. The whole heat planning law is an example of this, right? In Berlin, they decide all of Germany has to do it, and then all the municipalities are standing there and go like, yeah, you know, like they have to solve it. They don't have the capacity, they don't have the money, they don't have the skills. And we see this time and time again. So we really hope we can contribute there and like find ways to also collaborate with the public sector and research to provide solutions that like stay, you know, and not just a research project, but like continue to be in existence. And furthermore, we are trying to grow our research efforts inside in my company. So I'm looking forward to maybe potential collaborations, especially around having a better and deeper understanding about the built environment and whatever socio-demographics are relevant to our topics. Thank you very much.